Hey guys, my name is Masha and in this video I'm going to be answering your questions. So first of all, wow, thank you guys for all the questions. I got over 100, which is something I was completely not expecting, and you guys overwhelmed me completely. I'm gonna try to answer as many questions as I possibly can, which is why this video is probably gonna be super long. So for that reason, I'm going to leave timestamps in the description or in the pinned comment of the video down below, so you guys can jump around from question to question. So if there is a question that you're not particularly interested in, you can skip to the next one, or you can go back one. So it's easier for you to navigate this video, so you don't have to sit through the entire video if you don't want to. So also, apart from that, I'm going to apologize in advance for butchering all of your names. I'm going to try my hardest to pronounce them to the best of my ability, but obviously I can't because I don't know how to actually pronounce them. So I'm really sorry, and let's jump into the questions. So the first question we're going to kick off with is by that dude, and he asks me if I'm ever going to be doing a face reveal. And I feel like this video setup kind of answers your question already, because you can obviously see my face partially, but you can't see all of it. That is the limit of what I am willing to share at the moment. That is what I am comfortable with. Maybe sometime in the future I will do a complete face reveal, but I'm not at that point yet. I'm not comfortable enough to do that yet. So maybe sometime in the future, and if you guys really want that, but not right now. So all the further questions are going to be divided into bracelet related and not bracelet related, and we're going to start with the bracelet ones. So the first question in the bracelet category isn't actually asked by anyone for this video, but I do get it asked constantly, and that is, can you do a tutorial for this specific pattern? And my answer to that is more often than not, no. And I am really sorry about that, but there is just no way I can possibly do a tutorial on every single pattern that exists out there. And at the same time, in essence, I already have, because I made a video on how to read patterns, and you can find that in the card and in the description. So if you watch that video, you will be able to learn how to read patterns, and thus you'll be able to know how to make any pattern. So for the videos that I do make tutorials on, it's usually because the pattern is a very special one that can be easily knotted by the technique of segment knotting. So like in my fishbone chevron video, for example, the pattern itself looks really complicated, but there is a very, very simple segment knotting way of doing it. So when I do bracelet tutorials, it's usually on patterns like that, but unfortunately not all patterns are very easily done in segment knotting, which is why I don't do tutorials for every pattern individually. But if you watch my how to read normal patterns video, you'll be able to make any pattern that you like. Next up, we have a question that multiple people asked me, including Hannah Harvey, Lillian Smith, Hollow Queen, and Sliver29. And I'm gonna roughly word all the questions because I'm not gonna be reading each of them individually, but it is roughly, what string do you use and where do you buy it? So I've actually answered this question in some of my videos. I use multiple different types of strings. Because I've been making bracelets for a while now, I have a lot of strings that has just accumulated, and not all of them I have bought. The main string that I used to use, I actually stopped using that one for a while because I got very tired of the colors, because all the colors are very similar. I used to mostly use the craft cord by Loops and Threads, and I'm going to leave all the names in the description so you guys can check them out. It's not affiliate or anything, I'm just going to leave them for you if you're curious. But that is the one that I used to use, but I've recently stopped using it as much because I got tired of the colors, because there isn't much color variety. So I've switched more to embroidery floss now, which I find slightly more annoying to work with, but I've sort of gotten used to it, so it's not that bad. And the one that I'm using now is by a brand called Gold. What is the brand called? I swear I have one here somewhere. Oh yeah, the brand is literally called Gold Thread brand. I'm pretty sure these ones, the Gold Thread brand, are the ones that I won in a competition on a bracelet making site, because I did that once and I won a pack. But I also have a bunch of like completely random threads that I had from like Russian shops. So it really doesn't matter. I have some DMC threads as well. It really doesn't matter what thread you use. You can use embroidery floss, you can use the craft cord that I used to use. You can use even like some knitting threads work for bracelets. It really doesn't matter, but if you are curious, that is what I use. I'm gonna be buying some more threads soon, so maybe I'll do like a sort of haul video when I do that, if you guys are curious in seeing that. So next question is also one that has been asked by quite a lot of people, including Marissa Johnson, That One Dude, Claire's Wears Spam, Bracelets by Jessie, and 3 Poms Vertes? I have no idea. But the question is, what are your favorite color combinations? And honestly, I don't know. I have a lot of color combinations that I love. Mostly I enjoy gradients. I really enjoy gradients in any of my bracelets. Whether that be gradients of one color or gradients of a couple of colors merging into each other. I really love those. But I also enjoy very contrasting colors. Actually, as I am in university, one of the courses that we are doing is on design theory. And on design theory, they taught us a lot about color theory and how different colors go together. So there are actually quite a lot of websites online where you can find out colors that work together based on the color theory. I'll leave some in the description if you guys want to check them out. It's what a lot of designers use when designing websites and other things, like posters and stuff. So sometimes I actually use websites like that to figure out what colors go together. And this ties into the next question by Ada Posh, I think. And I hear the drums echoing, who ask, how do you choose your colors? I sometimes, as I said, use websites like that to choose my colors, but also I just grab a bunch of threads of that I think colors that go together, and I sort of mesh them together and like turn them around a little bit, fiddle with them to see if they look good. I always know how many strings I need based on the pattern, obviously, and then I just figure out from there which colors I like. So I just sort of do a trial and error thing where I just like put the threads together to see if they work out well together. So next question is also by Ada Posh. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. And That One Dude, who asked, what kind of patterns do you prefer? And my answer to that is very simple. Patterns that are easy to segment knot. Honestly, because if a pattern, for example, the Valentine's Day bracelet that I did, I loved that bracelet. It was great. It looked amazing. I thought the threads worked really well with it, but it was such a pain to make. It was so difficult to knot because it just wasn't easy to segment knot because of the fact that it had so many backward, forward, and forward, backward knots. And when I say a pattern that is easy to segment knot, I mean one that mostly has forward knots or backward knots, with some forward, backward, or backward, forward knots mixed into them, but mostly just forward or just backward. The bracelets that are easier to segment knot are those where you have a lot of knots in a row of the same string going over multiple other strings. So bracelets like that are really easy to make, and those are the ones that I enjoy the most. Usually there are ones with a lot of like V shapes, so like chevrons, or ones with a lot of diamonds and stuff like that. I really enjoy those, so yeah. I'm gonna be leaving some in the description if you guys want to check out some of my favorite bracelets. So next question is also by quite a lot of people, including Lily Roke, or Roche, sorry for butchering your name, Friendship Knots, That Dude, and Bracelets by Jessie. And all of them ask, what is the favorite bracelet that you have ever done? And I'm gonna go grab it now. So if you've seen my bracelet collection video, you've actually already seen this bracelet. And it's not even a bracelet, it's a keyring. But this one, definitely this one, is the favorite, my most favorite pattern that I have ever made. I'll link the pattern in the description if you guys wanna make it. But definitely this little guy is my favorite bracelet I have ever made. It is such a beautiful and cute little pattern. I love it and I recommend everyone go make it right now. It's so great. The next question is by Bracelets by Jessie as well, who asks, what is the least favorite bracelet that you have ever made? I don't think there is a bracelet that I didn't enjoy making. But yeah, maybe this one counts as my least favorite bracelet now, because I don't like the pattern, I don't like the color choices. I did enjoy it at the time, but I don't enjoy it now. So, next question was asked by Cozy K and Notting RJ. How long have you been making bracelets for? And I have been making bracelets for literally 10 years now. I started in 2009, and that ties in very well into the next question, which was asked by a lot of people, including Waragobble, Honey Peach Tea, Kaylee Jones, Sundra Hilsinger, Zini Panini 33, Sanj Gill, and MyFrog90, who all asked me, how did you start making friendship bracelets? I started, as I said, in 2009, and I started because one of my friends who I was hanging out with over the summer randomly just one day taught me how to make a candy stripe. And we were sitting in her house, and she grabbed a bunch of threads that she had, and she made the beginning of the candy stripe for me, and then I finished it. It was terrible, it didn't look great, I made mistakes constantly in it. Unfortunately, I don't think I have that particular bracelet with me to this day, but since then I started making candy stripes all the time. It was one of my favorite things to do. I just kept making and making candy stripes. And then I found out that you can do a crisscross. I don't remember how I found that out, but I remember that you can do I found out that you could do a crisscross, so I started doing that. And then completely by accident, one of my teachers at school taught me that there were patterns to friendship bracelets. As a craft project that we were doing at school. She taught me that there are actually patterns that you could do, and it was a craft project at school, so everybody had to do a friendship bracelet at school as a project for school, which is amazing if you think about that. And I enjoyed it so much, I kept doing it all the time, and all of the boys had to do it as well, and none of the boys enjoyed it, so I did it for most of the boys as well, because they asked me to help them with their bracelets. So I made a lot of bracelets back then, and that is when I got into making bracelets, and when I figured out that you can have patterns, and blew my mind that you could do so much with it. And then I found some bracelet making websites and more patterns, and there was a whole community of people that I found that enjoyed the same things that I do, and from there it all began, and this whole thing erupted. So this next question also ties into the previous one, and it's by Sandra Hilsinger, who asks, where do you learn new techniques? So some of the techniques that I know are things that I've just picked up over the years, and I don't really know where I've gotten them from. So whenever I do learn something new now, it's usually from different bracelet making websites, from tutorials that people posted years and years ago. It's mostly photo tutorials that people post, and I sort of just convert them now into video format. So for example, the triangle ends video that I did, I obviously did not come up with that. I had a tutorial that I followed, and I made a video based on that photo tutorial. The keeping your bracelet edges straight is actually a thing that I picked up from somebody else's video. That video was in Russian and it was very old, so I did feel like I should make one in English, and which is a new and updated version, so that people could have it somewhere else as well. I always try to, so for example with the keeping the edges of your bracelet straight video, I linked the video that I learned from in the description, so you guys can watch that if you want to. I'm assuming not a lot of you will or even can, because the video is in Russian, but I do want to make sure to credit them, because obviously I did not come up with this idea. But for the most part, I don't come up with these ideas that I'm sharing with you. I'm just making a tutorial so that you guys have easier access to the knowledge that I wanted to share with you. But I do try to link them all in the description. And also another question that was somewhat linked to these ones comes from Kaylee Johnson, who asks me, how old are you, and can you share some bracelet making facts about you? I am 20 years old. I am actually going to be turning 21 quite soon. My birthday is on the 7th of April, if any of you want to mark that down. But some bracelet making facts about me. I've shared this before, but my first video to YouTube was posted in 2010.
Hi, my name is Maria. This is my very first YouTube video. I want to show you how to make a friendship bracelet.
Not sharing that with you guys. No. But that is a thing that happened. I did make a bunch of bracelet tutorials back in 2010, even in 2011, and one of them got like 100,000 views, which I am like really proud about. I don't have access to those channels anymore because I completely forgot both the login and the password, so those videos are still up and making me cringe every single day, so great. So the next couple of questions are going to be on screen, and I'm not going to be reading the questions out, but they come from Charlie R, Michaela Morrill, Audrey Marlene, Alex McAdam, and Leifia, I think. So all of these questions, I'm not going to be reading them out, but all of these questions are about stuff that I could make, and videos on these topics are either already out or coming soon, so stay tuned. And I'm sorry that I'm not answering the question here, but they are coming. Next question comes from Samantha Morsey, and she asks, how long does it take to make a bracelet? So obviously it depends on the amount of strings that are involved and the pattern that I am making, because as I said, some patterns are very easy to segment knot, some patterns aren't. So for example, the Valentine's bracelet that I did was very thin, it didn't involve a lot of strings, but the pattern was extremely annoying, so that took ages. But usually I would say a bracelet takes me somewhere between 3 to 6 hours. Next question comes from Layla Burton, who asks, have you ever thought about selling your bracelets or making a store? And I will be honest, I have thought about doing that, but at the same time I have trouble even giving my bracelets as gifts to people I love, because I get really attached to the bracelets that I make. It's completely stupid, I don't know why I do this, but whenever I make a bracelet I sort of develop an emotional attachment to it or whatever, and I find it really difficult to give it away. So I honestly don't think I'll ever be selling my bracelets, at least not now. Maybe, I'm not ruling it out. It would be a really cool thing to do, but it's definitely not something that I'm going to be looking at doing now or in the near future. So next question comes from Audrey Marlene, who asks, can you make a video on thread organization and storage? No, I'm sorry, I really can't, because I have no idea how to do that. I just don't. The way that I store my threads right now is a mess. It's such a mess. I need a video on how to organize my threads. Please help me. I don't know how to do that. So if I ever make a video on that, it would be a complete disaster. So no, I'm really sorry, I can't help you with that. But if you can help me, I'd be very grateful. Next question comes from Corinna Edits, who asks, what is the oldest bracelet that you still have? I'm not sure if this is the oldest, but it's definitely close to being that. It's this cute little XOXO bracelet, and you can see how many mistakes it contains. I messed up the colors and the knotting of this so bad, but it is still one of my favorite bracelets because it is one of my oldest, and you can see how much I've progressed from this to what I'm making now. So I am definitely very sentimentally attached to this bracelet, and I love it very, very dearly. It's a cute little bracelet that I have kept for a while. So next question comes from Bina Mas, who asks, when do you find time to make bracelets? I really have no idea how I ever find the time to make bracelets, because on top of university I have a job that I do nearly 30 hours a week on every week. And I have coursework and other things that I'm working on, so I really don't know how I ever find the time to make bracelets. But now that I am making videos on them, I feel like whenever I'm making the bracelets, it's justified, because I'm not just making bracelets, I'm also making videos on them. So there is like an added level of productivity. So I sort of justify making those bracelets by the fact that I make videos on them. So Cheezette Gazette asks me, what is your favorite number of strings per bracelet? And now that I've done a 40 string bracelet, which is the widest bracelet that I have ever done, I'm probably gonna say 25 to 35 is my favorite range. I really enjoy thicker bracelets, maybe 20 to 35. I quite enjoy thicker bracelets. So yeah, that is the answer to that question. Friendship Knots asks me, would you ever do a giveaway with a bracelet as the prize? I would love to. I think it's a really cool idea. The only hesitation that I have is the fact that I have no idea how to organize that. I just don't know. So if any of you guys have any ideas on how to make that a thing that could actually happen, because I would do it now. I would love to do that. So if any of you guys legitimately could help me out with that, I would be very grateful if you could like leave a comment or message me in a DM of just like some thoughts of how to organize that best, because I really don't know. I feel like sharing personal information on the internet is a bit shady, but at the same time, how do you send someone a bracelet if they don't give you your address? So I don't know, I'm a bit iffy about sharing addresses and personal information like that over the web. So if any of you guys have any ideas or comments about that, please let me know, because I would love to do that. And also, how would I choose who to give the bracelet to? Because there's 2,200 of you guys already. There's less of you on Instagram, obviously, which is probably where I'm going to be doing my giveaway. But even on Instagram, there's like 300 and something of you guys already. So how would I choose who to give the bracelet to, you know? So if you guys have any comments on any of those things, let me know, because I would really love to do this. I really want to connect with you guys as much as I possibly can. It's great, and I would love to. Cody Levi Knots asks me, how come you don't wear the bracelets that you make? Some of you may know that my husband and I actually used to wear matching friendship bracelets. It was like a thing that we did for fun. I made us some friendship bracelets and we used to wear them for a long time. I used to wear some other bracelets that I made, but for some reason I don't anymore. I don't know why. I don't know why. I enjoy the process of making the bracelet, and when I wear them they tend to lose their colors, they wear out, they tear, and that just makes me sad. But also I just don't enjoy wearing anything on my wrists. Like, I don't wear bracelets of any kind, not knotted, not, you know, Pandora charms or whatever. I don't wear anything on my wrists. I just don't like it. I enjoy the process of making them, I don't enjoy wearing them, so there's no particular reason as to why I don't do that. Friendship Knots asks, how did you learn to segment knot? I never learnt from anywhere, to be honest. There isn't a tutorial that I watched or anything that taught me how to do it. I sort of just figured it out on my own. I don't know how else to describe it. It just sort of happened. One time I was making a bracelet and I thought, hey, why don't I just make this knot and this knot and this knot first and then do that. I don't know, I can't really describe it. Just one time I was making a bracelet and I decided to try this new cool thing that I thought of, and it worked. And since then it's just something that I've been doing. And then once I started doing it, I actually figured out and found that it was a legitimate technique that people use. So yeah, I sort of learnt myself. Officially Lena asks, do you like making normal or alpha bracelets more? It definitely depends on my mood. Sometimes I really have the mood for alpha bracelets. Sometimes I can't stand the thought of an alpha and I really want to make a normal bracelet. Right now I'm more in the mood for normal patterns, but there are definitely times where I'm more into alphas. So it really depends. So now we're heading into more of the personal questions, and wow, I wasn't expecting that you guys would even be interested in more of me, but you are, so thank you. First question comes from Cody Levi Knots, and they ask, how long have you been with your husband? We have been together since I was 14 and he was 15. We started dating at that age, and now we are nearly 21 and nearly 22. So we have been dating for nearly 7 years. It's been over 6.5 now. Obviously we're married now, but when we started dating, that was nearly 7 years ago now. So quite a while, which is why we are now married at such a young age. Obviously usually people don't get married at 20 years old, but since we've been together for so long, we decided that it was time for us. Next question comes from both E. Minich and Wargarble, who both ask, how did you meet your husband? That is a very, very long story that I am going to condense super quickly into just the phrase, we met in Germany. We are both from Moscow and we both lived in Moscow at the time, but we met in Germany, which is a lovely story, and it's definitely something we're going to be telling our kids, just because it's a fun story. But basically, as I said, we were 14 and 15. His school was doing a school trip for the summer to Berlin to study the German language in a German language school in Berlin, so that we would have the opportunity to live in Berlin and be able to use the language as we were there. And it was his school, we went to completely separate schools, and it was his school that was doing this school trip, and for some bazillion different reasons, I ended up going on their school trip as well, and we met in Germany, and we hated each other at first, so that's great. But we ended up getting together on that trip. To be honest, I honestly thought that we were gonna break up by the end of the trip, purely because, I mean, I was 14, I wasn't expecting anything to come of it, but we still haven't broken up, so, you know, things worked out like that. Unique 1035 asks 2 questions. Were you born in Russia and do you still speak Russian? Да, я родилась в России, я родилась в Москве, и я все еще говорю по-русски. When I was a baby, we moved to London because of my dad's job, so I ended up growing up in London, and then we had to move back when I was 10, again because of my dad's job, and now I am back in London because I am studying at university, and London is where I see myself living in the future, so I'm probably gonna stay here for quite a while. Wargarble asks, werewolf or vampire? I am not gonna lie, this question could not have come at a better time. I am 20 years old, which means that around the time that Twilight was coming out, I was about 12. So I am not ashamed, but also kind of ashamed to admit that I was obsessed with Twilight. I had all of the books, I read all of the books, I watched all of the movies, I was obsessed with them. I was a fangirl at that point in my life. And the reason why I said that this question couldn't have come at a better time, I was literally watching an interview of Robert Pattinson talking about his time on Twilight completely randomly. YouTube completely randomly recommended it to me. I haven't been interested in Twilight since it like died years and years ago, but YouTube completely randomly recommended this video to me, and I watched this interview and I was like, oh, I was so into that back then, and I started thinking more about it. I started going down the rabbit hole of Twilight videos and interviews, and then I saw this question on my Instagram and I couldn't help but laugh. But to answer your question, definitely vampire. I was very into Edward and I rooted for him from the beginning, and I think that the whole Jacob falling for Renesmee or imprinting on her, whatever, is very creepy. Don't even get me started on that. I think it's creepy. Whatever. Next, please. I really don't know how to pronounce this. I'm really sorry, but ZZ33 Girly Z asks me, what keeps you motivated? You guys keep me motivated. Especially this whole video motivated me so much. I mean, obviously, as I said, I can see the numbers growing on my YouTube, right? When I started posting my English videos, I was at 200 subscribers. Now, just a couple of months later, I'm like at 2,200. I can obviously see the numbers growing rapidly, but it's very difficult to make those numbers correlate or even to comprehend that is, you know, people. Those are people. Those numbers are not just numbers, they're people. So when you guys leave comments, when you guys send me messages, and just interact with me in any way, that keeps me really motivated, because that makes me understand, that helps me comprehend the number and to realize that you guys are actual human beings that are interested in what I'm doing. That's amazing to me. That's mind-boggling, the fact that I'm just making bracelets in my bedroom and I'm doing something that I love and I'm posting it to the internet and other people are enjoying it just as much as I am. That's amazing. So definitely you guys keep me motivated. So thank you guys so much for that. Next question baffled me a little bit because quite a lot of people were interested, including Wargarble, Bracelets by Jessie, and also Edward, whose name I cannot fully pronounce on my channel because but I can put it up on the screen so you guys can see it if you want to. But all of those guys ask, do you want kids? And also, how old are you and what do you think about adoption? I am 20 years old, nearly 21 as I said. I do want kids. I have no idea why you're interested in that, but I mean, I'm gonna tell you anyway. I do want kids in the future, and so does my husband, but definitely not anytime soon. We are way too young for that. Not something we're looking to do in the near future, but sometime in the far future, yes. As for adoption, I think it's amazing. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I am really interested in it, but I don't think it's something that I would be doing myself for my family. And the last question for this video comes from Cody Levi Nuts, who asks, what is your favorite book? Don't even get me started. I love reading. It is one of my favorite hobbies. It is something that I do, if not more, then definitely the same as making bracelets. And my absolute favorite series is Harry Potter. I read that as a kid and I loved it. But if you're talking about a standalone book, it would probably be the book that I have right here on my shelf, and that is Every Day by David Lebethan. I loved this book. I have no shame in admitting that I love love stories. I read quite a lot of them, and this is definitely a love story, but that's not the reason why I love this book so much. It might not be my absolute favorite book because there are a lot of books that I enjoy, but this is definitely my top 3, and this is the first one that comes to mind. So the reason that I love this book so much is because of the premise of the story. I'm going to try to explain it to you quickly with no spoilers, but basically it's about a person who changes body every single day. So this person doesn't have a body of their own. They wake up in a new body every single day of someone else that they possess, essentially, for just one day, and then the next day they wake up in another body, and that's just how they live. That's how they've lived their entire life. That's how they were born, and they don't know why they came to be this way or what's going on, but that is the premise of the story. This person doesn't want to alter the lives of the people that they are inhabiting, so they don't change anything that is going on. But the story starts flowing when this person meets this girl whose name is Rhiannon and falls in love with her. And then this person wants to spend more time with this girl, and that is how the story rolls around. So essentially it is a love story, but it's so much more than that. And what I love about this story is how philosophical it gets, how it tackles so many different questions, like why are we the way that we are? So obviously this person goes from body to body every single day, and it's strange and nobody understands how that happens. But do we really understand how we came to this earth? Like, we were born, none of us know what we're doing here. How did we come to live? Why are we living the way that we're living? So why is the way that this person is living their life any different to how we are? No, none of us really know how we came to be. Is it moral that this person is taking over somebody else's life? Is it moral that this person wants to spend time with this other girl? Is it moral for this girl that she has a boyfriend, and the way that they met is that this person inhabited the body of her boyfriend? That is how they met. Is it moral that this girl is now falling in love with this person and thus essentially cheating on her boyfriend if they met when this person was in the body of her boyfriend? There are, I'm not going to spoil the story, but there are so many philosophical questions and things to just think about in this book and in this story that I absolutely love. So this is definitely one of my favorite books. I read this book in like 2014, I think, and then very recently I found out that there is a companion novel called Another Day, which is the same story but from the perspective of the girl. And so I read this book very recently and I loved it. I read some reviews online and people say that they hated it, that they expected it to be a continuation of the story, and they were really disappointed. But as I knew that it was a companion novel, I am holding them upside down, aren't I? As I knew that it was a companion novel from the beginning, I was not disappointed. I think that it added quite a lot to the story because we see her perspective and her moral, the difficulties that she has with the relationship that they are taking part in, and all of the sort of moral complications that go with that. So I really enjoyed it. And then I realized that there is a third book. There is another book called Someday, which is a continuation of this entire story. And I just started reading it, so I don't actually know much about this one yet, but I am quite enjoying it. I've read a couple of chapters of this already, and I must say I'm really enjoying this. So yeah, Cody, you have unleashed a beast with this question. I love reading, and I am borderline considering making a channel based on reading and my thoughts on different books. So tell me if you're interested in that, because I am legitimately thinking about that. But anyway, thank you guys so much for your questions. I really appreciate them. I was completely overwhelmed, and I'm loving the interaction with you guys. I love talking to you when you send me messages, when you send me pictures, anything. It's the reason why I do this, honestly, and I love it so much. So thank you guys so much for watching, for leaving me questions, for interacting with me in any way. And if you want to take part in future Q&As that I may or may not do, I won't be doing one soon, but I might do one in the future. So if you want to take part, be sure to subscribe and also follow me on Instagram, because that is where most of my interaction with you guys happens. And also, if you recognize where this is from, props to you. I post videos every Tuesday and Saturday, except for these coming weeks. I have a slightly different schedule because I have some stuff going on, but Tuesday and Saturday is when I usually post, and I will see you soon. Bye!